at the Detailed Image again with Jesse Iwuji.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. It's like a huge honor for me. So I really appreciate I reached out to Jesse over Instagram and you responded, and he was going to be in Texas. So we decided to get together in Dallas and shoot some video. We got some more cool things coming on YouTube also. So that's very exciting. So we're doing the 10 questions again, and I put some together, and as you see, our E-Ray and Z06 in the back. So I'm actually have some questions about his Z06 and out in California, even though this one's in Texas. So that's a really cool thing. So obviously we're telling everybody about the current cars you own.
Yeah.
You own the E-Ray and you also own the Z06 back in California. Is there anything else that you have in the lineup?
Yeah. So, got the C8 E-Ray, C8 Z06, everyone knows about. I have a C6 Z06 as well. It's my drift car.
Okay.
I've had that since 2013. It was actually my first Corvette I ever had was a C6 Z06. So that's kind of what brought me into the Corvette family. And then outside of that, I have a Skyline R34 GTR, so JDM, and then a Tahoe, and had a turbo truck, just sold it. It was a Silverado. But yeah, besides that, that's all I got right now. Had a C7 Z06 too as well before, just sold that to someone in Texas. Okay. It was 1,008 horsepower. Oh. So yeah, I think it was a monster. Yeah. But don't have that anymore. But yeah, that's my current lineup right now.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. I know you and I, when I started watching you on YouTube, and the one thing that I kind of fell in love with you with is the passion you had for the Z06.
Yeah.
This is my first Corvette into the world, so I understand. And, we'll get maybe a little bit more into about having the Corvette versus some of those other cars that you've been testing. And I saw the MC20 test that you did. And it's interesting. I have some comments about that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so the Z06, how long have you had that for? And how did you acquire it? Did you get on a waiting list, or kind of tell the story behind that?
Yeah, so C8 Z06, I felt like when Corvette decided to go with this whole mid-engine platform, I thought it was going to be a great idea. So when the first C8 Stingray came out, I'm like, oh man, this is cool. And I was very interested in trying to see if I could get it. But then I thought to myself, I'm like, why am I going to get a C8 Stingray? Like, I'm a Z06 guy. I've always had Z06s. I had a C6 Z06. I had a C7 Z06. Like, I'm a Z06 guy. Like, why am I going to go, like, somewhat backwards, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me wait till the Z06 comes out for the C8 generation. I know it's going to be a monster. At that time, I had no clue what engine they were going to have in it, but I knew it was going to be a monster. They came out with a flat plane crank V8, 5.5 liter, 670 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.6, quarter mile in the mid-10s. When I heard all that information, I'm like, I have to get a C8 Z06. So fortunately for me, because I race professionally, I'm in NASCAR. I have some, I guess, back-end connections, on the Chevy side of things to get on a special list to be able to get the C8 Z06. So my C8 Z06 was VIN 34. So it was 34th one. Also too, my E-Ray as well is VIN 34. So, thank you, Chevrolet. Thank you, GM, for the opportunity to be on the list, to be able to get that and have my own VIN and all that. And the reason why we got 34 is because that's my number in NASCAR. Right. So we just got VIN 34. I mean, I could have got VIN 5 if I wanted to, probably.
That's awesome. That's how I got That's so cool that they gave it to you. No, it's like these Z06s. I kind of did the opposite because I've never had a Corvette, so I wanted to put my foot in the water, and I got a 70th anniversary C8. Loved it. It was amazing. When the Z06 came out, I kind of wasn't sure, what's the big difference?
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. It was a huge difference.
So I went to see one, and I drove it, and I'm like, the wide body, everything, not even close. So, well, the other question, have you ever owned the Z06? Another one, but you haven't, so that's cool. So you kind of stuck with it and stuck to your guns in terms of knowing what you wanted. And so I've
actually had a total number of Z06s I've had is 5. 2 C6 Z06s, 2 C7 Z06s, and then 1 C8 Z06.
And which one has been your favorite?
They all do amazing things. The C8 Z06 is my baby right now. But honestly, that C6 Z06, still to this day, I tell people, even to this day, the C6 Z06, pound for pound, best sports car ever made in history. And I can go through a list of things that my list of things I can show people, there's no other car on the planet that can meet all that. Or even a lot of that together. So yeah, C6 Z06 to this day is one of the best sports cars ever made.
I'll have to go test drive one.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's a speed manual too.
That's nice too. So this is kind of an odd question, but I think it's always interesting to ask people who are car enthusiasts is, what's the most expensive car that you've ever owned?
The most expensive car I've ever owned is my C8 Z06, I would say. My R34 GTR was pretty pricey too as well. But the C8 Z06 definitely is the most expensive. And this was a little bit cheaper than that.
Okay.
Still nice. But yeah, the C8 Z06 was the most expensive car. So I haven't had anything else with really more expensive than that. Now, I've driven other more expensive cars.
Right.
I've tracked more expensive cars. I've tracked Lamborghinis. I've even tracked the Lamborghini race car, the GT3 car. So I've been in GT3 RSs. I've tracked one of those, a GT3. So I've been around other expensive cars. I just never owned them.
Okay. Yeah. So mine, I had a Huracan.
Okay.
And
which is a great car.
Great car, amazing. Yeah. But still, for the money and for what you get, can't even compare to the Z06.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
You hop in a Z06, you hop in a Huracan. Huracan's nice. It's cool. It's a V10 and it has a Lamborghini name. And then you hop in a Z06 and like, okay, is this Huracan truly $200,000 more than this? You're just not finding it, you know?
And I think in a point I was going to make about one of your other videos, the MC20, what's funny is I always feel like I'm defending the Z06 because it's a Corvette.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it's just a Corvette. You can't afford other cars. And it's not even about that at all.
I could have if I wanted a Huracan, I could have got a Huracan.
Right.
I could have got, with the cars I have, I could have got 2 Huracans.
Right.
You know what?
And it's so funny because with the MC20, and I love that you did that review, if that car had a Porsche badge on it, you couldn't get one.
Yeah.
Everyone would want it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then if, this car, you put a Lamborghini badge on it, it'd be crazy. So it's kind of sad that it's just that much of branding that makes somebody think a car's better than another car. And a lot of people will give their opinion on the Z06. They've never driven it.
Yeah, they've
never driven it. And it amazes me.
People will say, "Oh, Corvette's plastic interiors."
Right.
These interiors are like, where's the plastic in it? Right. That's why I've been doing the supercar comparison videos, just to have them side by side, and people can literally see there's no interior magic. Even a McLaren's costing $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. You hop in it, there is no there is nothing in here that's like, wow, this is way better than that.
Right.
There isn't. Now, rewind. 10 years ago, 10 or more years ago, yes, there was a big difference.
Yes.
Even the C7 generation had a nicer interior than the C6 generation, but still that interior didn't compare to, cars of that, the supercars of that time.
Right.
Today,
I agree.
These cars are just on par. I mean, like, I've had Lamborghini owners hop in this car and be like, this is nicer than my Huracan.
Right.
Like, they felt like that.
Right. And the thing is, too, and with driving these cars, sometimes it can cause a little bit of anxiety because you're afraid of other people.
Yeah.
I feel like if something happened to this, I could repair it reasonably as opposed to a McLaren or Lamborghini.
True. Yeah. I think it's becoming easier because there's more parts available now. But when I first got my C8 Z06, I was scared because I was like there was no parts.
Right.
So something happens, that's it. Like, you're sitting for a while.
Right. Okay. That's I don't know. I just felt like when I was driving my Huracan, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to.
You don't want the repair bill. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Everything repairs $10,000, $12,000, $20,000.
Right. So I remember my first impression of the Z06. What was yours? Like, when you saw it in person, what was that feeling like?
So the first time I saw one in person was at Phoenix, Arizona for the NASCAR championship race weekend. Chevy had brought one out there in their fan area, and they had it, and I got to sit in it and I got to fire it up. And once I saw the car, saw the wide body, saw how beautiful and just how aggressive the car looked and the presence it had, I was like, I have to have it. I think I said it on camera right there. I posted the video on my Instagram. If you scroll back all the way to November 2021, you'll see it. I literally said, I have to have this. Right. Like, there is no other question. I have to have this car. And then from there, I set my mind on it that I was going to get it, and then ended up getting it. And funny thing is, just a few days ago, I got a chance to, I didn't get to sit in it, but I always got to open up the door and look inside of it, a C8 ZR1.
Okay.
And, I'm like kind of saying the same thing now. Like, I think I need a ZR1.
Right. And that's one of the questions. I'm like, what about the ZR1? Are you going to try to get one?
Yeah. So I'm very interested in it. My only worry is the C8 Zora is also around the corner, right? And they're already testing it at the Nürburgring, which means announcements for that car are going to come out, probably right after the ZR1. I just would hate to get the ZR1 and then it gets overshadowed by the Zora very quick.
Right.
The nice thing about the Z06 was it had a nice runway from the time it got announced in 2021 or whenever it was, till the time, till basically the next big thing that came out was the E-Ray, which that didn't come out until this year.
Right.
It got announced last year. So there was like a good 2 solid years where the Z06 was king.
Right.
I just don't feel the ZR1 is going to have enough time to be king before something else overthrows it.
Right. To be honest, I was shocked when I heard about that because I was just like, can we just get the ZR1 out and just see it? And do you even have an idea how much it's going to cost you? Do we know
the ZR1? It's not announced yet, but here's my thoughts, and I think it's going to be true. I think bottom end, like bare bones, ZR1 is going to be in the $160,000 range.
Okay.
And then I think if you max it out, spec it out to put everything you can possibly put in there, it's most likely going to be in the $240,000 range.
Okay.
That's my thoughts. It could be a little bit lower than that, could be a little bit higher than that, but I think it's going to be somewhere in that range.
Okay. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then dealer markup, right?
Yeah, I think the dealer markup. I never include that because every dealer is different, right? Fortunately for me, the E-Ray and the Z06, I never had to deal with any markups, right? So I always got MSRP. So I haven't had to deal with that. But yes, there could be there probably will be markups.
Right. Well, that's why I waited to get my first Z06 because people were 50, 60 over. I'm like, really?
When I first got mine, I was looking around and people were buying them for 80 over, 100 over almost.
And now you literally can get them MSRP or even some below.
Yeah. It's just, even though the car had the performance of an 80 grand over, kind of car, it had the performance for it, but still, you just never want to do that because you're so backwards on the end of it. Like you'll never make that money back, even anywhere near close.
Never. It's a car. It's a depreciating asset. Except maybe old Ferraris and stuff. But from the factory, when you got in the Z06, I know you've done a lot of aftermarket stuff to it. Is there anything you're like, I wish they would have done this just a little bit different?
The one big thing I wish they would have done different with the Z06 and really all the C8, the whole C8 platform period, is just make it lighter. I think it's gotten too heavy. You go back to the C6 generation. The C6 Z06 was 3,150 pounds. That's light. Yeah, but and I know nowadays there's all these new safety standards and things like that. But if you look at McLaren, you look at a lot of these other supercars, a lot of them are staying around 3,100 to 3,400 pounds for the most part. And we're sitting here with these cars with driver in it. We're getting close to 4,000 pounds. So it's a lot. I wish these cars need about 500-pound diet, get that out of it, and then we'd really see a lot. And then also too, I wish there was more downforce with the cars. I know with the Z07 package, you're producing just under 800 pounds of downforce at 186 miles per hour. I think the Z07 package, you should be producing like 1,200 pounds, 1,300 pounds. I think if we had that plus a little bit of lighter car, we'd be on top of the Nürburgring list.
Yeah. That whole thing was odd, right?
Yeah. So let's go to the Nürburgring real quick. So the Nürburgring, right, is a nice standard track for people to test, right? I know the Z06 has demolished a lot of cars on every other track, right? But on the Nürburgring, that guy who is a journalist ran the car. Now, everybody is taking that as gospel as no, the Z06, that's all it can run is a 710. Right. I don't believe that's true. The guy who ran it is a skilled driver. He's a great driver, but he's not a pro manufacturer driver. Right. There's a level. There's a difference of one. This is why I know. If you look at the time, when he ran a GT3 RS at the Nürburgring, he ran a 6:55. The pro Porsche driver did a 6:44. He's 11 seconds off of that. So why are we taking this 710 as the end all be all? Go throw Jim Moore or somebody else like a pro Chevy, like GM driver in there who knows the Nürburgring. It's not going to be a 710. It's going to be better. Also, if you shift it yourself, you can also get better times. Right. I know he says like somebody recommended, use the automatic mode. If you clearly see in the video multiple times where automatic mode was like upshifting, downshifting, and doing weird things, all that kills your time. Like that little bit, every little mistake on a shift will start off as a 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second type of loss, but then it amplifies as you go because you're coming out of a corner, you're accelerating, and you get these longer straights, these longer runs where you're just constantly losing time by the time you get to the next corner because of the mistake you made at that corner. So all these different things calculate together to where I believe the C806 with the right pro manufacturer Nürburgring driver in it should go probably, I would say mid 650s. I would say like a 655.
It's just another thing. I feel like everyone is always finding or trying to find something to discredit the Z06 when it is an amazing car.
Yeah.
And then when that came out, I was like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again. Yeah.
Here we go again. But
although every other track is beating everything else.
Right.
Besides the GT3RS, of course. But like all the GT3s out there and everything else, it's beating all of them. So it's like, it's, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you can clear that up for us a little bit. You know a lot more about it than a lot of people. So, I appreciate you clearing that up for us. So, for some reason, this next question, a lot of people like this 500-mile break-in is like this most exciting thing of their life when they break in their Corvette. So, how long did it take you to break in? Because didn't you drive it from
North Carolina to Texas? Yeah, so both the E-Ray and the Z06, I drove from North Carolina to Texas. And so in my first 24 hours, I had, 1,200 miles on the car. On the first 500 miles, I was just road cruising on the highway, varying my speeds here and there. That's the 500 mile point. Did a little bit of a wide open throttle pull here and there, but nothing crazy. Just a little bit. But honestly, I didn't really start beating on the car as far as like pushing it harder until it got to 1,500 miles.
Okay.
That's when I started actually pushing it hard.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying everyone has to wait to that. After 500 miles, you should be fine. But I had just heard some rumblings on, 500 is like kind of like the break-in number one, but real break-in to really push it is 1,500 miles. So then that's why I had to wait to take those cars to 1,500 miles before I did it. And yeah, I
Googled that and I was like,
close to 1,500 already after just the trip. So I was like, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah, because I Googled that and they were like 500, just to break it in, but then 1,500 before you take it on a track.
Yeah,
I was kind of going by that.
Yeah. So I quickly got both these cars to 1,500 miles, and then from there I could be like, okay, cool. So I took this to a drag strip, ran really well. Would love to see where they run now in this cool weather.
Yeah. And back to another question I asked you, and if if I'm missing something, can you not lock the car without the key fob?
I don't know. I've never tried that.
I have other cars that you just press something and it locks.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, am I missing the fact that I can't lock this car without the key fob? Can I get in it without the key fob? I cannot lock it without the key fob.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't know if there's a lock somewhere that I'm missing.
I have this set at both the cars set at auto lock, so where I just walk away and it locks itself.
It locks itself.
Yeah,
okay.
I
Maybe that's because I know a lot of other cars that I've had. I get out and I just kind of touch the door handle and it locks. And I'm like,
they have the auto lock thing, which honestly, since I've only had C6, C7, C8s. Since the C6 has always been like that for me. So I've always been used to just keeping my key in the pocket. I get out, I close it, I walk away, and it locks itself.
I guess I'm just so like
you're used
mentally, I'm just used to doing
so like my Skyline R34 GTR. I mean, it's old school. It's a 1999 car. So there's a key, and I stick the key in. I can lock it, or I can use my little thing and lock it. But I always gotta lock. Check it. Okay, it's good. And then
okay, because I'm like, if he knows this and I don't, I'm like,
you make sure it's set on your settings to do the auto lock.
Okay,
and it gives a certain time, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. And that's all I do. And I walk away within the first few seconds. I see those the mirrors closing, and then I know it's locking.
Well, what's funny is you say that. I'm glad you brought that up because on my black car, it's a 3LZ, so the mirrors fold. This is a 1LZ, and they don't fold. So I never know when it's locked or not. So
okay.
I know. So I didn't realize it's the little creature things that with the 1LZ. So
my C7 Z06 was a 3LZ. So I've only had three LZs.
Okay.
My C6 Z06, that was like a 1 or 2 LZ. I can't remember. I didn't buy a new, so I can't remember.
Yeah, when I got this, I just wanted, like, as a second one, I just wanted it stripped down as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see. And I really haven't missed a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe the front camera, things like that. The lift.
Yeah.
I do miss that.
I actually haven't had front lift on any of them. I didn't do front lift on this one or the Z06.
Okay. Yeah. Well, on my other one, it does have it. So I was able to do the Paragon, like lowering springs for and stuff. But if without that, I would be scraping everywhere. This one's a little bit higher, so I don't scrape. Not much, but it just scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
so even on the scraping, like my CA Z06 is lowered. I mean, it is, there's almost no gap between the tire and the wheel well. So it's lowered pretty good. And I scrape a little bit, but the scraping, like if you go look at where you're actually scraping, it's not a bad place. It's like, it's not. And I scrape. Like,
I think it's just a mental thing for me.
It sounds bad, but if you go under and you look, it's really not terrible. It's in a place that it's yeah, it's fine. It's like not a big deal. It's not your splitter. It's definitely not this that's scraping. It's like it's
like the metal,
it's like
covering underneath it.
It's still a plastic area, but it's like right kind of in this area. That's what's hitting.
Okay.
And so it's not as bad as you think. Because every time you think it's your splitter, and it's not. The splitter is clean as can be.
I had a 2010 911 Turbo, and it had that the air dam on the front.
Yeah.
If you hit that's a break.
Oh,
you're just so worried all the time that that's what's going to happen. So it freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's a good segue into the modification. So I know you've done a lot of stuff to your Z06. Not a lot, but you've done stuff to your Z06.
Yeah.
Can you tell me just a few things that you've done? I know you did the air intake.
Yeah, so I did the Venturi air intake. I did the Porter throttle bodies from Solar Performance. I did the Solar Performance throttle controller. I did the AWE catback exhaust.
Okay.
And then I did the Speedway Composites cross brace. My wheels are from Forged Light. And then what else? Oh, my front splitter. It's a partnership between me and another company, but it's our Z07R front splitter, bigger, wider, aggressive front splitter. And that is about it, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, some lowering springs, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the exhaust, to me, I've done, so when I've had some of my other R8s and other cars, I've always had to do the exhaust.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
This, I feel like, it's perfect, but can you tell?
So stock exhaust is good. It is pretty much perfect. When you change exhaust to other companies, it's not that you're making it way louder. It gets a little bit louder, but then you just change the tone. Okay. Right? So then my tone on my car sounds different than your tone on your car. Okay. And it's not like a way big tone, but it's definitely noticeable. I noticed it. When I got in the car, I'm like, oh, this sounds just a little bit different. Right. So that's what you're doing. Each exhaust company, you're just changing the tone. If you want to just sound a little bit more different than all the other Z06s, that's when you just pick different exhaust companies. But yeah, you're not going to get some exhaust that's going to make it way loud. It's going to make it louder a little bit, but not like a whole lot louder. If you want more loud, you just need to get the high flow cats or just a little. Okay.
I definitely can tell that the MC20 video had a little bit different sound going through. I definitely could tell that. I think you did a really good job of explaining kind of the supercar, like why it is a supercar. And a lot of people mix up supercars with exotics. And if you could just give us a brief input on that, because I thought you did a great job of defining why it is a supercar, not an exotic, but there's a reason why.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're looking at supercars and sports cars, right? So let's start off with a car, right? A car is a car. All right. Then from there, you move to a sports car. A sports car is a sporty car, a car with sporty features, a car with sporty performance, a car with sporty handling. From sports car, the next step up is a supercar. A supercar is a sports car with super performance, right? So more than just your normal sporty performance, super performance, higher horsepower, way better handling, everything is just better, right? Then from there, you move to the exotic car. An exotic car is a supercar with exotic features, right? So now it's basically, you start adding all of it up. It's a sporty car with super performance, but now you add the exotic features too as well. So the look of it's very exotic, right? You're just not going to see anything like that. It doesn't look similar to other things. Interior is going to be very exotic. Things are just not going to be in the right place. They're going to be all over. Like everything's just different. It's very exotic, right? It's something that you just rarely see. And then also the rarity thing goes into it as well. Supercars don't always have to be rare. Exotic cars do have to be rare, right? So there is a rarity aspect to it. Then from there, you move into hypercar. A hypercar is now an exotic car with hyper performance. So now you take away the super performance and now you have hyper performance, and that's how that works. So if you think about it like that in that lens, that's how you can truly separate what cars are what. The C8 Z06, the C8 E-Ray, they're all supercars, right? I would say the C8 Stingray definitely has some supercar-like performance, but it's still a sports car, right? I wouldn't say it has super performance. It has very sporty performance, very, very good sporty performance, but it doesn't have super performance. The C8 Z06, the C8 E-Ray, that has super performance. Their performance is on a whole nother level. So that's how you can separate it. But unfortunately, these cars are not exotic because there is nothing exotic about them.
Okay. So here's a good question. Based on your definition, is the ZR1 going to be a hypercar because of the horsepower?
The ZR1 is still going to be a supercar with hyper performance.
Okay.
So hyper performance type features. So like it's hard. You can't call it a hypercar because it's not exotic, and it's not going to be extremely rare unless they decided to make only like 100 of them or something, or 500 of them. Yeah. But they're not. They're going to make a decent amount of them. Right. They're not going to go make 20,000 of them. Right. But they're probably going to make, I don't know, a few thousand of them, which is still rare. But it's not like it's not hypercar rare. Hypercar rare, you're looking at 1,000 or less units a lot of times. Okay. So the ZR1 will still be a supercar, but it will be like the top of the food chain supercar. Right. Like it'll be at the top. It's clawing. It is beating hypercars. But it's still a supercar. Okay. Okay. Just like C606, C706s in their generations were still sports cars, but they were beating supercars. Right. Didn't make them a supercar, but they're just beating supercars. Right. They're always punching outside of their league. Okay. Great. I think that was probably the best definition I've ever heard anybody give. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So I always end the 10 questions with a detailed image with one question. If you could have any car you wanted, price wasn't a factor. Yeah. You could just have one car, old, new, whatever. What car would it be? Man, it's so tough that I have a huge list, but I'm just going to pick one, and it could change on another video. It could change. I could change to another one, but for this one right now, I would say a Ferrari F40. Ferrari F40. For whatever reason, recently, over the last year or so, I've really started falling in love with those cars. Right. I don't know why, and I finally got to see one in person about a year ago, and I saw it running up and down an airstrip. I was like, this is so cool. Like, this car, I don't know what it is, but there's something timeless about this car that, like, and at that time is when I started realizing that I really love 90s, early 2000s cars, as far as, like, good ones. Not all of them. Right. But the good ones. There's something about some 90s cars, from the JDM ones to some of the supercars from that day. Ferrari F40, even a Ferrari F50. Ferrari F50, I mean, I'd take either one of those. Right. The Vipers, from back 99 Viper, 2000 Viper. You go back and you look at some of the Bugatti EB110. You go look at just some of those crazy cars from back then. The Jaguar XJ 220 or whatever it is. Right. I mean, all that stuff. They were just beautiful cars, analog. You felt everything. You drove it. You were trying to tame it the whole time. I mean, there's something about that I just absolutely love. Obviously the GTRs, that's why I have one. There's something about it you can't beat. No, I'm the same. Those older cars are starting to, like, I don't know. There's just something about them. I felt like they were such beautiful art pieces. That's the thing. They're very beautiful, beautiful art pieces. Like, I've always wanted, I talk about this in another video, but a white Testarossa, just because my device. I just, it's so cool. And, I just think there's something about it. So, I don't know. I'm the same way. Countach. I was watching a video of Doug. Diablo, the Lamborghini Diablo. Right. The Murcielago as well. Yeah, they're all just, I don't know. You're right. As they get older, they're more nostalgic to us. I'm like, man, and you don't see them. They're so rare. And so it's just beautiful when you get the opportunity to see one. And I totally agree. So, all right, man. Hey, I really appreciate it. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Great video. And I'll get this out soon so everyone can see it. But I really appreciate everything. And it was great meeting you in person. So thank you so much.